Cover. Hey, Rob
I'm
Brown.
out, Coach. I'm on the injured reserve today. I've been sitting in the chair watching too much football. My hamstrings pulled.
I've got curvature of the spine, way too much. Look, a lot to talk about today. Rob Brown in Memphis.
Let's go.
Wake up. It's going to be a great day. Just got off the Plank show out in Oklahoma City, Norman, with Chris Plank. I was lucky enough to be a guest on their show talking about the Auburn, Oklahoma, and the SEC picture. Do this. Take a picture with your phone of the QR code. We broadcast live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, okay? We do on 8 channels, and then we put reels and social media out. And this channel, we got 8 shows. There's a lot happening. You want to hear the truth? No holes barred? You're going to get it on this channel, okay? So we do it every day, Monday through Friday. We got shows at night. There's a lot to see here on this channel. Got a great lineup today. Coach Matt Dean over in Memphis, repping the red and black of the Rhodes College Lynx. John Hartwell is going to make an announcement about his new business venture, which I think fits him perfectly. And Ken Capps will join us, Football Writers Association of America, from the parking lot of a 7-Eleven somewhere in Dallas because he is on the road. He's Willie Nelson on the road again. The life I love and like playing music with my friends. And he'll be on here with us talking Texas A&M, the Western flank, because there's a lot happening. And guys, it is to me right now, we're going into week 4. Matt Dean, you took the train to Chicago last week. I hope you had fun. And 34-14, Oregon wins. And I think they dropped in the polls. People say we shouldn't have polls till the middle of October. We know why we do it. It's fun. It's entertaining and all that. Let's start in the SEC. And I want to attack a narrative because both of y'all are smart. And then John's going to talk about what he's going to be doing now, which is really exciting. But people picked out the tombstone, got the burial suit and the flowers for Alabama. And I know they have played 2 teams that they were superior in talent and everything. Alabama ain't going away. They're going. I still predict they're going to play Georgia for the SEC title. But we're now an offensive league with a few good defenses. So, Matt Dean, you saw Oregon play. How different are they than the SEC? Much? Any?
Guys, great to be back on. I was up in the you call it like the smaller version of Northwestern is rebuilding, or they're building a new stadium, a new Ryan Field. And we were in a 12,000 seat capacity area where they play lacrosse and soccer right next to the lake. Beautiful venue. But we probably had half the crowd. Oregon, it was kind of methodical road game, 11 a.m. kickoff for a West Coast team. The Ducks were up 34-0 early fourth quarter. They pulled their quarterback, and Northwestern scored late to make it look like it was somewhat of a game, but it really wasn't. And I will tell you, Dante Moore throws a great ball. He's one of the unsung quarterbacks in the country. I love it. So I still think right now, Rob, the Georgia win, Tennessee had them beat. They were a field goal away from beating Georgia, and they couldn't get it done. Georgia finds a way to win that football game. So right now, honestly, I think that's – besides the A&M win at Notre Dame, I think the Georgia win at Tennessee is just huge if you look at the SEC. And then this week, Auburn has a chance to go in and honestly do something that would put them probably in the top 10. If they could get a road win at Oklahoma, it would elevate them in the minds of everyone, I think. And I don't know if that's going to happen because Mateer is really looking good, but I think Auburn's defense is capable, Rob, and I think if they can run the football, they can control the time of possession, and they have a chance. But Saturday night, watching A&M score 41 points on Notre Dame, you can say what you want about a missed or dropped snap. You can't give up 41 points at home if you're Notre Dame. And I really thought Notre Dame played really well in a loss to Miami. But A&M gets a road win. That's probably the biggest win I've seen of the year so far is A&M going into South Bend and winning that football game.
Yeah, and true or false, guys, there were more people at Costco last Sunday than there were at the Rose Bowl last Friday for UCLA in New Mexico. Man, Nico, you leave the checkerboard orange and white. Tell your dad to back off. Man, that was – and John, you look at the business side, and I don't know if it's true, but UCLA was $100 million in the red when they joined the Big Ten, crawling on their knees. That's a proud program. I mean, Terry Donahue, 20 years, Rick Neuheisel, Ken Griffin Jr., Troy Aikman, they got so much history. They got to get the right person in there. You know the business side of sports. You got a big announcement to make about what you're going to be doing. If you can't manage your money will manage you into non-existence.
Yeah, don't forget about a guy named Wooden who coached some sport.
Well, I was just talking football.
Well.
I was just talking football.
Yeah,
I know. From Iowa, by the way.
And on the backside of that game, I mean, yeah, I didn't even see what the announced crowd was there, but there weren't 8,000 people there, I promise you. And obviously on the backside of that, you have a coaching change after week 3 at UCLA. You have a coaching change after week 3 at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be interesting. Like you said, UCLA put all the chips on the table to join the Big Ten. And, you know, I don't know who would have more buyer's remorse right now, possibly the Big Ten or the high level donors at UCLA. But there's obviously something that's got to be fixed there. Hey, I want to go back for just a minute to what Matt said, you know, looking at last week's SEC games and how that plays out for the rest of the year. The thing I looked at, 3 huge road wins. Y'all talked about Texas A&M, but Georgia going into Tennessee, my gosh, I feel bad for that poor kicker from Tennessee. I know he's a Memphis kid, deer in the headlights, and man, that's just tough. But again, one play or one person doesn't lose a game, just like Matt was talking about a snap. And then the Commodores, man, Vanderbilt going to South Carolina and just wearing them out. And I know Vandy has a return date with Alabama. Is that next week or the following week? Man, circle that game because Charles Lee, those guys are playing really well. And it's not a fluke. Yeah. The QB is really good, but they've assembled some talent on that team, and they are a legit SEC team that you know, big things can come from them. But again, three teams go on the road and win tough road games.
Well, A&M, and Matt, you're right. That not only is it big, but that's their first road win against the non-conference opponent, top 10 since 1979. If you think that's a big deal, as great a tradition as Texas has, they have only won one time in their history. LSU has, I'm talking about. LSU, first time they ever won a true road game against the top 10 non-conference opponent was when they beat Texas and Austin in 2019. Those are hard wins to come by. On the SEC top to bottom, you know, Alabama, Arkansas, I want to ask you, I'm going to start with Matt. Hunter Yurachek and Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas referenced this yesterday. Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director at Arkansas, made a comment at the Touchdown Club, Arkansas Touchdown Club in Little Rock this week. Arkansas can't win a championship in football. We can do it in other sports, but not in football. And one of my buddies last night, who's in the money business, said, if I'm Walmart and I'm Tyson Chicken, I'm going, paint my logo off your field because we're not giving you money to just show up.
Yeah, I would probably defer to John because I think that's a statement that you can say in confidence in a circle that you trust, but I'm not sure that's a public statement. You know, right? I mean, is that kind of a backdoor comment to say, okay, the search is on, and talking to some boosters about how we're going to go different directionally? But I mean, guys, they did play a pretty good football game in a tough venue at Ole Miss. I mean, 41-35. Taylon Green is going to play in the league, and he's going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. And honestly, he's so difficult. Memphis fans get a chance to watch him this week. But I didn't hear the comments, Rob, but I would have a hard time in front of my contingency to make a statement like that, even if I knew it was true.
Yeah, and you leadership starts at the top. John, what would your reaction be if you were the head of the Razor's Edge, which is the Arkansas NIL collective?
Yeah, you know, I think the intent there by Hunter Yurachek, who's done a really nice job at Arkansas as a whole. I think the intent was to maybe rally the troops and get some more people motivated. But when you're in an audience like that and you make the comment, whether it's meant to spur on action or not, in today's dog eat dog world of recruiting, do you not think that any school that's recruiting a kid that Arkansas is also recruiting in football doesn't say, well, hey, they've admitted at the very top, the athletic directors admitted you don't have a chance to win a championship here. And so I think obviously hindsight's 2020, and I'm sure Hunter would reel that back in. I was watching a little bit of a video clip last night of Peyton Hillis, one of the all-time greats at Arkansas, and man, he was upset. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Matt's exactly right. The Razorbacks went into Oxford and played a heck of a football game offensively, especially in the first half. I know Ole Miss made some adjustments in the second half, but they were within a turnover. They were driving late and got stripped and turned the ball over, or that game could have been a different outcome.
Yeah, and I had Arkansas to win, and Ole Miss stripped the ball. Got to give them credit, but if I am the president at Arkansas, my athletic director needs to get his resume updated, because you have too many people that have invested too much money into that university. You just cannot say that. Even Clark Lee. Look at Diego Pavia. Now you talk about going out on a limb, 180 degrees. We're going to win a national championship at Vanderbilt, and they've got great hockey in the Everglades too. But you know what? That's who I want as my quarterback. He's a believer. All right, let's look at some of the games this weekend. Alabama is off. Arkansas plays at Memphis. Matt, that game at Simmons Bank Liberty Bowl Stadium, it's being retrofitted. Here we go. How does Arkansas come into that game? Hey, if I'm an Arkansas coach or player, I'm going, we'll show that athletic director. I would double down, triple down on being a championship program. And I'd give him, I wouldn't say anything to him till I was calm enough right now.
Yeah, I really think Arkansas comes to Memphis and rolls this week, guys. I think Taylor Green's going to be too much for the Tigers. I honestly think, Rob, kind of to your point, I think that would motivate me as a coach and an athlete to go out and prove people wrong, especially in a game where Memphis doesn't have anything to lose this weekend because they're still looking to beat USF and Tulane if they have a shot to get to their title game in the AAC. But if they upset Arkansas, man, kudos to Coach Silverfeld. But I think Arkansas comes in focused. I think Taylor Green is too much for the Tigers. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think he is a legitimate dual threat quarterback. You've got Florida going to Miami, John. The Gators. Look, first to admit, I've been wrong on them right now. I had them to win 10 games. Now it doesn't look good. They look like they're doing the same things they did the first 3 years. What do you think happens down there? You've got Mario Cristobal in Miami at 4 and Oregon at number 3. That's the school he left to come to Miami. Mario's magic. You think it's going to be enough you think they'll beat Florida Saturday? Can Florida rally? What do you think happens?
Yeah, and Brendan's probably the aficionado on this, but here's my take from the outside looking in. I think there are too many distractions in Gainesville right now. I'm not saying they won't go in there and play a heck of a football game, but I think the suspension of the assistant coach who got into the pregame spat, some of the stuff going on off the field. I know it's a tough situation, and Miami. There's no love lost in that rivalry at all, and I think if Miami can get the Gators down, they're going to kick them while they're down. So I've been surprised before, but I see Miami winning that game handily.
Yeah, and you hate to see it because Billy Napier. No one's going to say he's not a good guy, but the team just. I don't know. Brendan's talked about it. They remind me of Auburn the last 2 years. I don't think the Auburn guys really believed they could win because Hugh Freeze looked like Debbie Downer's husband. He just did. He did not exude confidence, And I think now he's smiling, he's happy, and he's being the Hugh Freeze that got Hugh Freeze a job that pays him close to $7 million a year. And that's a big deal. All right.
Well, hold on, Rob. Matt, who do you think's going to win?
It would not shock me if Florida went down there and played really well, Brendan.
I'm with you.
And I'll tell you another thing.
I got a feeling like it's a nail biter, 28-24, something weird.
I'm telling you, that game is 13-10.
It's a trap game.
In the Bayou Bengal last weekend, and that pick six just deflated that football team. I think they were inside the 40, Brendan. They were driving, maybe getting field goal range to tie the game up, whatever. And that was just it was a bad throw. It was a bad throw. I still love their quarterback. I know he had a rough night.
He's going to be amazing.
But like, these are part of the growing pains at that position that happens, especially on the road sometimes. And it would not surprise me at all, Rob, if they rebounded and went down there with a chance to win the game. Obviously, Miami's favorite. They're a significant favorite. And I agree with John. They should get this done. I just have a weird feeling that every time you think Florida's done, they resurrect, and here we go.
So because there's nothing to lose here.
Right now, there's not, right?
Yeah. And Billy, I don't know. Look, you say whatever you want. Talent on the field is good. Lagway did not have an offseason. He didn't have a fall. He didn't practice. He didn't throw with these guys. These guys are track stars. They're faster and there's a lot of timing. Look, if they start clicking, all of it's right in front of you. I mean, it's not like you don't have any players. Lagway lights it up. They could go beat the crap out of Miami if they wanted to.
They could, and it's a dead cat bounce. That's the market term. You don't even think Florida's on the radar. And I got to stick by my 10 wins. I thought they'd split the Texas
10 wins
and lose. That's what I thought. So
10 wins.
Obviously, I've got to adjust it.
You do.
I said it, but I have to adjust it now. It's like a market forecast.
So adjust it then, dead cat.
But so they could go on I could see them going on the road because Florida has talent. It's just what's the temperature, John Hartwell, of that locker room? I mean, this is where coaches really matter, is the relationships they have. And I think it's every school out there. Kids are getting paid. I don't think they're as upset after losses as they used to be. Now, granted, we all know what used to happen. After a win, you went through the parking lot by the RVs and got a lot of handshakes and hugs and Christmas presents, and that's just the way it goes. But again, Florida, they've got talent. It's just how hungry are they? You can't have a defeatist woe is me attitude. I mean, that's on any program, and that's permeating. A sense of entitlement will take you down quicker than anything.
Go ahead,
John.
At the collegiate level, now we've talked about this before, you don't just have to be an X's and O's or player development person. You've got to be a psychologist and a psychiatrist to manage your locker room and to keep the locker room. And, if you have an erosion of the chemistry in your locker room, I don't care how much talent you have, it's going to be tough to win. Yeah. And it's going to be especially interesting here over the next couple of weeks. And I know there's some teams that have already had one of their 2 bye weeks. But as we get to that stage where kids have played in 3 or 4 games, you're going to see a wave of kids for whatever reason who are saying, hey, I'm not going to play this week, or I'm going to shut it down or whatever, because you can play up to 4 games.
That's
play in that 5th game, you lose your red shirt year. And right now, I promise you, there's not just the kids, and probably even more important than the kids, the players, the people in their ear, their influencers are saying, hey, shut it down.
Yep.
Shut it down. You can go make more money. You've proven yourself over these first 3 or 4 games. And that whole dynamic will play out some all over the country, which will be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
John and Matt, this is a question for both of you. How does that pertain what you just said, John, about red shirt, and apply that to what's happening at Florida? You've got a buyout. You want to keep, let's just play my game. You need to keep DJ Lagway, right? Yeah. You need to keep your players. You got this whole pending, because that's before the A&M game for Florida. So how does that matter with your coach if you're trying to move somebody out and you got a buyout that matters end of this year, it changes significantly? What do you do?
Well, see, that's already in play at Virginia Tech and UCLA, because when they made a coaching change, then all of a sudden every player on both of those rosters has the opportunity to have a window to leave, which is, I mean, it's a crazy loophole and where we are today in college football and what the NCAA regulations say. But it's something there that, again, that's got to be a factor when athletic directors or whoever's making the decision. Hey, are we going to make a coaching change? Are we going to announce it now? What's that going to do to our roster? How are we going to hold it together? A lot of dynamics at work there.
I mean, if you were like in Florida, like you say you're the AD at Florida right now, like I mean, I know it's a big question, but how do you handle it?
Another component to this is how the NIL contracts are written and what the student athlete has to do to continue to receive their revenue. Most of those are on monthly payments. A lot of them have stipulations. You got to go to study halls. You got to do these things. You've got to continue to participate. And if you shut it down of your own volition, not of, something that a team doc says you've got an injury or something, but if you do it of your own volition, depending on how that contract is written, it may cost you some money too, which is, again, 5-10 years ago, we would have never been having these conversations, but now in today's world of NIL, they all factor in.
Well, I can tell you right now that Virginia Tech quarterback quit on his team yesterday. At Bull's spit term, opt out, you quit. And he will be blackballed by the Virginia Tech fan base, alumni, the networking. He's toast. He quit on his team. I don't care what the circumstances are. He's going to be a father one day, the wife and kids. You can't just quit. It's BS. Matt?
So I actually have a question for John to answer Brendan's question, because I'm curious, John. Like, in today's world, I view an athletic director almost like an NFL GM to an extent. And hear me out on this, because at the end of the day, if I'm the AD, how do I protect my most valued asset, which is DJ Lagway? Would we agree on that? If you're trying to look at the future, Brendan, and how we navigate through these waters, if we made a change, how is DJ part of that moving forward?
Like if you were in this scenario in Florida right now, you got Lagway, you got a lot of really good. Billy's recruited really well. That matters right now because Florida is at that over a decade of just not having any success. This is going to be a really, you change or not, like you have to go back to zero here. So how do you do this?
Well, my thought is, Brendan, and I don't know, John, if this is completely ethical. You help me out here, but I may call the AD. I may call my quarterback into my office, and I'm going to say, "Hey, DJ, you've been battling this. You are the flagship for our program right now. What can I do to assure Florida Gator Nation that we have you next year and beyond before you enter the NFL draft?" I don't know is that commonly done, John, but I'll tell you what, I was in the Oregon stands in the parent section an hour before the game. I was talking to a dad that I made a relationship with. I think his son's a potential first rounder. And a lot of us think that he may leave after this year. But the dad told me, he goes, "Hey, look, he's really happy. He's getting taken care of. I'm not so sure that's a home run. We may be back again." And I'm like, I think, Brendan, to your point, how do you build a culture, now that these kids are getting paid, and some of them are getting paid significantly, where we can say, "Hey, look, let's keep you here. You're going to get paid again. Maybe you're even going to get a raise. I don't know, but I want you happy, and don't kind of disassociate yourself with the head coach right now, because I'm concerned about you." John, is that ethical or not? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and one, it goes to the point, and I've always thought this was really important. As an athletic director, you got to have a relationship with your student athletes. You can't just be somebody who sits in a corner office. You've got to go to practices. You've got to meet families and stuff like that. But and I think it becomes difficult unless if the student athlete asks for a meeting with the athletic director, then yeah, absolutely. You've got to take that meeting, and you have no idea what it's about. He may want compliment a coach. You may want to say, hey, these things are happening. You need to know about it, things like that. But if, as the athletic director, I think, you in a casual way, you say, you see a kid, in the training room or walking through the hall in the football complex or the athletic complex and say, hey, DJ, how's it going? Why don't you stop by my office and
Right.
let's talk about things. And in a casual conversation like that, because regardless of how the meeting occurs, you always run the risk of, when you drill down on, hey, what's really happening, let me know, that kid may go back to the head coach or tell his teammates and say, hey, the AD is after the head coach. That gets back to the head coach, and then all of a sudden you've got a really dicey situation.
You got a bigger problem then. Yeah,
I've said this on here before. I think it's important for the athletic director to know the culture.
Yeah.
And the two areas where you are going to get the most unedited versions of what's going on, you go talk to the trainers and you go talk to the equipment room guys, because those are the ones who hear what's really going on. And I think that's important. You've got, as an athletic director, you can't be blindsided by the culture going on in the program. You better have a pulse on that.
Yeah. And this is the problem, is who can you trust? I mean, John, this from being at the Citadel in the military. You got you got the officer, the commanding officer. Then you got an XO below him. Then down the line, you got the command master sergeant. And that command master sergeant, if you want to know what's going on in the platoon, on the team, that's who you ask. Whose family is struggling while you're deployed for 6 months overseas in combat, who can't pay their light bill, who needs help with car repairs, whatever. They get them the money. That XO, I mean, he's basically kissing ass to the guy above him. Okay, this is what is happening. And most people in the Pentagon, they're in the military, but they're just jockeying for position on a think tank or something like that. The command master, the NCOs are the backbone. A sergeant major is the backbone of the military. Okay, a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, a lance corporal. That's the back. And so if you can't trust to talk to a player that he's not going to go run his mouth to everybody else, you got problems. Before we go to Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America, folks, one of the best writers out there. Texas, the Western flank, college football all over the country. John, tell people about your new venture that you're going into, because this is exciting.
No, I appreciate that, Rob. Yes, taking the opportunity to join as a partner to College Sports Solutions, which is a company that Jeff Schimmel, who is the athletic director at San Diego State. He's had this business for 12, 13 years. He was a All-American track and field student athlete at Kansas State, has been at the University of Minnesota, was quite a few places, but have a great opportunity to join College Sports Solutions and focusing primarily on coaching searches, the financial consulting for colleges, universities, conferences, and strategic planning. So really excited about it. I think there's a significant opportunity in the search area and in the financial planning. Every school, regardless if you're the biggest Power 4 school or if you're Division III, has got financial concerns now that we can help navigate them through. And, I've been fortunate enough through the years from a coaching hire standpoint to make some really good decisions. And it's not just about who's the most qualified on the sheet of paper, but it's about fit as well. And I think that's really important. So excited about this venture, transitioning back to LA, to Lower Alabama, where I'm from, not going back to Mobile, actually going
Baldwin County,
across the bay to the Fairhope Point Clear area. So we're excited about that, and look forward to continuing the relationships that I've had for the last 30 plus years in college athletics, and making some new ones as well.
This is going to be great. I'm excited for you, and everybody is. We need you. Look, Ken Capps, Texas, Arch Manning. And you weren't one of these people, but. And I said this earlier, we're trying to microwave things in society. You can't steak fry ribs. It takes about 5 or 6 hours. Okay, 225 and blue on that cooker. It's gonna take time. And my wife Audrey is a body language expert. She's like going, he's probably been programmed since birth, and he knew this was coming. I have a question. You think there's too many people in his ear? Not the right, but John talks about Neil Brown is down there at Texas. Sark is there. They've coached great quarterbacks before, but let's talk about what's going on at Texas and then kind of bounce around the western flank of Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri, Arkansas. Your thoughts? And first off, have you had a Slurpee this morning from 7-Eleven?
No, but I do have my cup of coffee right here. So
I miss 7-Eleven. I'm just telling you that.
I tell you, we're gonna have to get 7-Eleven somehow, corporate sponsor this show or something for all they do. But yeah, you're right. I mean, here west of the Mississippi, things could not be any crazier. You've got Texas, who is ranked number 1 going into the season. Now down to number 8. You've got A&M and Oklahoma right there in the AP top 25, just a couple of notches lower than Texas. Of course, all of these schools are bitter rivals. And of course, now all of them, I read all the fan sites every week just to kind of get a perspective of what other fans are thinking. And they are just having a field day with the fact that Arch Manning so far has not lived up to the expectations that were so brought upon him. And, I said this after week 1, I was glad. I wasn't glad that Texas lost, of course, but I was glad that finally the pressure was off Arch, because he's heard nothing but for 2 years about how he needs to be the starter, how he's ready to go. And of course, he did have those, flashes of brilliance last year when Quinn Ewers was hurt. But now he's the starting quarterback, and he's only played 4 games. Yeah. So, and again, he's only, the last 3 games have not been against exactly, tough competition. And he's got another easy one this week against Sam Houston State. So I think it's going to, he needs to come out this week, in my opinion, and just blow the doors off of the Bearcats. But on the other hand, guys, I mean, he needs some help around him. I mean, remember, Wisner and Baxter, the 2 big running backs for Texas that Sark loves to lean on, have both been hurt. A true freshman started running back last week for Texas. The offensive line has not been protecting him very well, and is also off to these goofy penalties again, all these false starts and holding calls that call back big chunk plays. And last but not least, the receivers have been dropping balls. So I'm not making any excuses for Arch. I think I've said it from the beginning. Arch is going to be just fine, but he better get just fine real fast, because guess what? The State Fair of Texas opens next Friday. So you know what that means. In a couple of weeks after that, it's Texas, Oklahoma.
Well, and we all know that the motto of the Texas State Fair, home of howdy, folks, Big Tex, the 70-foot cow, if it ever ran, flew, swam, or crawled, it can be fried and sold from a food truck at the Texas State Fair, which lasts for 6 months, I think, something like that.
Might as well. People think it should just go year round. It's so great.
And then we'd have everyone in Texas weighing at least 400 bills. That would be scary. All right, Matt Dean, jump in here with Mr. 7-Eleven, Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America, one of America's best writers. Reading is like lifting weights with your brain, people.
Hey, Ken, it's good to see you. The last time we talked, I predicted the Texas win over Ohio State. I was wrong, but the one thing I was right on was your defense. I still think the thing we're ignoring here a little bit is I think your defense is very, very good. I think as Arch navigates through some of these, let's be honest, first-time full-time starter, right? As he navigates through some of these things you discussed, I think when it gets to the meat and potatoes, I still like Texas. I like Texas over Oklahoma and A&M personally. I think Oklahoma is very interesting because of Mateer. I think the healthy wide receivers, Mateer throwing the way the football he does, Venables a defensive coach, he always has been. So honestly, they have a formula right now that's pretty formidable. They have a great defensive coach as their head coach, and they got a quarterback. That being said, it still would not shock me if Auburn came in there this weekend and took them to the full 60 minutes and had a chance to win that football game. I got to see. I know they won at home against Michigan. I still am not buying Wolverine stock right now. So I still think I like Texas over Oklahoma in a few weeks as well.
Well, I tell you, that Oklahoma game this weekend, I think, again, just how funny how things work out in this world. Here comes Jackson Arnold back to Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
A place where he was shunned and basically had to leave the program, winds up at Auburn, and now he's just rocking and rolling in Auburn, which I'm sure that makes Rob very happy. But here's another guy. He's kind of like John Mateer in a way. He runs the football. He throws the football. He's very elusive. And so, I think that's going to be very interesting how that turns out at Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not sure the last time Auburn's been to OU.
Never.
Boy. Well, boy, as soon as they cross into Oklahoma territory, they better be ready. Even cross the state line. But I've just been intrigued by that. And is Jackson Arnold going to have enough revenge factor in him to want to come out and try to do something against his former teammates? But I tell you, Mateer, and he's a bona fide quarterback. And I've had a lot of respect for him, but where I've seen him play, and I've been watching a lot of Oklahoma games lately, is he really works with his legs, and so does Arch. But what Sark said about Arch this past week is Arch is trying to press it so much that he's now running, and Sark doesn't want Arch to run all the time. He wants him to stay in the pocket, make his reads, do what he's supposed to do. But, he's been so good at running, he's saying, well, okay, well, I can't find I can't find a receiver. I'm just going to, jump off and run. He gets that first down. Well, then you start believing in your legs more than your arm. Again, this is according to Sark from last week. And, of course, the last thing that Texas needs is for Arch Manning to get hurt.
Yeah. No, and I think that what you just said about Oklahoma, Brent Venables hands-on with that defense. That's like Tommy Tuberville, that when he's hands-on, Nick Saban hands-on, Chip Kelly hands-on with the offense. I really see what's going on. Texas, Sark, Arch Manning, calm down, everybody. And you're right. When you start pressing, it's not good. You got, if you're worried about making money all the time, you probably won't make it. Do what you need to do, and it'll come to you. John Hartwell jump in here with, howdy, folks. Big Ken Caps at the State Fair in Texas.
Hey, Ken, I want to ask you about another team on the western fringe of the SEC, if you can. And I think this is a big game this weekend. Mizzou, South Carolina at Mizzou.
Absolutely.
I've paid probably a little more attention to Missouri this year than I have in past years because my relationship with Ahmad Hardy, the running back who transferred from ULM.
Yep.
Ahmad Hardy only has 462 yards so far this year, including coming off 250 last week. I think they've had 2 out of their first 3 games where they've had 2 running backs go for 100 yards or more. Talk a little bit about Mizzou. And again, on the other side of that, you got Shane Beamer coming off the devastating home loss to Vanderbilt. His name's been thrown around with the vacancy now at Virginia Tech, where his dad, Frank, was the longtime head coach. So a lot of storylines surrounding that game as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, when I saw that score last week of Vandy beating South Carolina like that, I had to think twice. Wow. And, South Carolina was really steaming along there for a while. Missouri, you never know what you're going to get with Missouri these days. I mean, they played up and down. Remember, they were losing to Kansas, their arch rival of all time. And they no longer play anymore. So for them to get together and play a couple of weeks ago was a huge thing. I know there are people here in Dallas who are Missouri fans that were gathering together like it was the Super Bowl, and they were losing. But then Missouri came back and they won the game. Missouri's playing at home. That's always a huge thing to be able for them to play in Columbia. Is Lamar? I'm sorry, I don't know this. Is Lamar Sellers going to play this week for?
Lenora Sellers, it's going to be a game time decision. I think that's due to what I believe Will Gunner told us this week from South Carolina, concussion protocol.
Well, then I think there's your answer right there. I mean, I think if South Carolina does not have Sellers leading the way on the road against Missouri, I think it's going to be a long day for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, and you go back and you talk about concussions. I remember a game as a kid. Terry Beasley got knocked out in the Iron Bowl. Auburn and Alabama playing in Birmingham. Went over to the sidelines, came back in. He didn't remember playing the rest of the game. I mean, it's a different world. And so I like John. That you're right. That game, Eli Drinkowitz. Just think about this, folks. And Brendan has brought this up. The Kroenke money, the Walton money. They're going up to 80,000 seats at Faurot Field there. And I think one of the most underrated, underappreciated coaches is Gary Pinkel. He got, in my opinion, screwed by some bad folks at Missouri. That's why he's not coaching. I think he got double crossed. I really like him. Classmate of Nick Saban at Kent State. They were there together. I like this. Boy, think about Shane Beamer going, if he were to go back to Blacksburg.
Wow.
And you know, and I got a brother-in-law, played football for them, 2 nieces and a nephew that went to Tech. I know I've been up there a lot on Smith Mountain. Man, and that's where Marty Smith, he's one of Shane's best friends, Marty Smith on ESPN, SEC Network. He grew up 15 minutes from that campus. Another game that I want to ask about, you know, or I guess the team. Let's go back to Vanderbilt. Y'all tell me. I believe the students still go to college. I think they still go to class. I don't know. I don't know if they just mail their tests in, and you know, it's just the last 5 years, nobody's academically ineligible. And prior to that, the only player I heard of that was academically ineligible was at LSU. One of their running backs, somehow they didn't keep up with the hours when Coach O was there. I'm like, how do you do that? I mean, that's like misspelling your own name. But I digress. That's just really sad. So, John and Matt and Ken, you know, Brendan gave us some good insight on Florida. Brendan does not say things to make people happy or feel good. He's going to tell you the truth. He thought Florida was a 6-win team this year. So look around the SEC. I was on KREF radio this morning in Oak City, Norman with Chris Plank Show. He's the sideline reporter on the Boomer Sooner Network. Dun, 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 dun. It's the same notes over and over and over with the Conestoga wagon. The Boomer Sooner. I love it. I love that. I told him, I said, Chris, you've got a sense of urgency in your voice. I mean, it's unreal. It's like going, I'm going down the hall. I'm going to the bathroom. It could be he takes a ride. Oh, it's full. I'm going to have to wait. But Oklahoma, I made my pick. I said, I think Oklahoma beats Auburn 27-21. I think that it's going to come down to, you know, I think they got a little bit more, but we'll see. All right. So I want to look at these games. Alabama's off, you know, Arkansas plays Memphis. I'm thinking about this league, you know, Georgia, I think they're the best team in the SEC, but they gave up 41 points. Matt, John, throw it in here. SEC, and I ask everybody this, top to bottom, 1 through 16. League better this year at this point than it was last year at this point?
You want me to go first, John? Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
I think top to bottom, I think it is better. I mean, and again, we go back to talking about Vanderbilt, and they've been a progression of getting better every year. But I don't think there's any team that you can just say, oh, that we can count this one up as a win. And I do think the upper tier, and it's going to be interesting to play out through the middle portion of the season. Hey, who evolves? Who are we talking about come November of being the 5 or 6, maybe even more than that, who still have a chance at the CFP? One game we haven't talked about yet, and I'm actually going to this game this weekend. There at the Grove in Oxford, Tulane at Ole Miss. And I know
Yeah.
To me, that's a trap game for the Rebels. They played Arkansas, a rival, last week. They play LSU next week. Tulane and John Sumrall is a good friend of mine. He is a hell of a football coach. I was watching the SEC Network last night, Gene Chizik, and I think this is a pretty common thought. John Sumrall is maybe next in line, or in the next 2 or 3 in line, to become an SEC head coach. He played in the SEC, played at Kentucky, grew up in Huntsville, went to Grissom High School in Huntsville.
The Grissom Tigers.
Yes. A lot of people don't know this, but he got his coaching start with the Harbaugh family at USD, University of San Diego.
Wow.
With Harbaugh, was a defensive coordinator out there. But I'm telling you, Tulane, with the transfer quarterback from BYU, they are going to score some points on the Rebels, because Rebels, gave up a bunch of points last week to Arkansas. That game could be a trap game, but at the same time, Ole Miss is a very good football team.
They are, and I think John Sumrall, I'm surprised John didn't get the head coaching job at North Carolina. That shocked me. I do think he's a hell of a coach. Let's keep bouncing this around. Matt, go.
So I'm going to make a statement. It doesn't just pertain to the SEC. I think after 3 weeks in college football, there is no dominant program. To me, there's no true number one, because you can say, I'll go back to week 1. Ken, if that game's played in Austin, I think Texas wins it. It was a 14-7 rock fight. And honestly, right now, we are very excited in the SEC about a lot of teams. I mean, I'll give you a great example. LSU's defense has just made one of the biggest turnarounds, I think, in the whole country. With Weeks and Harold Perkins Jr. at linebacker, they are flying out there. So right now, if you had to tell me what's most intriguing about the SEC, I would just say the defensive paradigm shift that's occurred down in Baton Rouge. I think they're really interesting. Now, that being said, it's not like they're putting a ton of points on the board in those 2 wins. 17 against Clemson and 20 against Florida, with 5 interceptions, though. So I just think there's no true dominant team. What kudos, though, to Vanderbilt. Charlie Lee has built a program, guys, on toughness. You have a tough quarterback. You have a tough tight end. Rob, are you looking for me to stop for a second? Get your finger there.
No. I was going to say something to you. Charlie Lee was a former pitcher for the Memphis Chicks.
Yeah, Coach Lee. How about that?
Clark Lee.
I'm all over the board. But anyway, I just think what Vanderbilt's done, I just think is incredible, because before he got there really wasn't a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, and if you get in the college football playoff, Ohio State proved it last year. You can win the whole thing.
Yeah, and Matt, I agree with you totally. Clark Lee, quiet. Speaks very soft, but I tell you who Clark Lee reminds me of. We're all old enough to remember The Longest Yard, the original movie with Burt Reynolds. Remember they were putting the football team together, and they were trying to recruit guys, and they said, all right, now this here is Shatner. He took out 4 people, 3 of them at a family reunion, and another 3 since he's been in prison. He goes, yeah. He goes, let's go talk to him. He goes, hey, we're going to put a football team together. You want to play football? He goes, nah. And he was in leg irons and arm shackles, bald head, ripped, shredded like Schwarzenegger. And they kind of juiced it up. And Burt Reynolds said, you get to play the guards. He goes, you get to play the guards? He goes, you get to hit him? He goes, yeah, I'll play. That's Clark Lee. Clark Lee's a tough guy. And, man, he's an MBA alum, the Gentleman Scholars. He's proud of that program. He walked on, came at Vanderbilt. I think he was a fullback. But you know what? They could be 5-0 going into the Alabama game. They got to play Georgia State and Utah State. Ken Capps, have you had a chance to talk with Clark Lee? You're a writer. You sit, you listen like Tony Barnhart, like Buddy Martin. Tell us about it.
Well, I have not. I've talked to him at SEC Media Days. Okay, but I have not. Yeah. I have not spoken to him one-on-one. No, but I really admire what he's done at Vandy. And let me tell you, I kind of have a special. I know that Bo Carter always talks about Vandy because it's a very, very, very special place there, and he's a very special man there. But see, what I always tend to not talk about on this show is I used to live in Nashville, and and I know that Rob will know this. I lived in Green Hills in Nashville,
I know
which is right next to Vandy.
That's right.
So back in the day, I used to run track. I used to run around the track back when running was a thing for me. When I was in my 20s, I used to go over to the football stadium and run track. Run around for exercise. Probably can't do that anymore. But anyway, Texas plays Vanderbilt this year in Nashville. I know a lot of people that are going to that game. And to your question is, I've been thinking about that a lot too. And I think the SEC is so different this year because think about it. Texas was supposed to blow the doors off everybody. They haven't yet. Alabama has had all of this craziness go on. So they're kind of up in the air. Here's Oklahoma that has been down for the last 2 or 3 years. But remember, Rob, you and me have talked about this for 2 or 3 years. Brent Venables didn't forget how to coach when he came to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's coming back into play. And then, let's face it. Yeah. Yes, I think right now that Georgia is the best team. But let's just be real honest. I watched that game. Tennessee blew that game last week. Tennessee should have won that game. And that would have been a huge, huge win for them. And so, hey, I give all the credit to Georgia because, good teams find a way to win. That's, maybe a cliche, but it's the God's honest truth. But Tennessee should have won that game. And so I really think it's up in the air. There's so many different matchups this year that, I don't think you're going to be able to really tell anything until late October as to how it's all going to shake out.
I agree with you on that one, guys. And you look at Joey Aguilar, what a pickup for Tennessee. And that's just Josh Heupel's coaching.
Right.
I think he does a great job of developing quarterbacks. Nico was not what he was advertised for $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
If a dog will bite, he's going to do it when he's a pup. He had 2 years in the system at Tennessee, but he also had way too many people in his ear. We got about 7 minutes to go on this Thursday edition of Sidelines. John, we'll start doing some rapid fire real quick. What are some stories in college football that people aren't talking about that you on the business side? I love the surfer bracelet, man. Dude, hang them. Wait, hook them. Wait a minute. Wait. Now, what if you're a dude from California, Ken, in Texas? How do you go hang 10, dude? Remember hang 10? But anyway, I love the surf. There you go. There we go. John, do you notice the biggest, or Ken, on my SEC map behind me? What's the biggest? It's Texas. You cannot avoid how big Texas is. Howdy, folks. Howdy, John.
Hey, Rob, I've got to tee up Matt for this one because I know he's paying close attention here with his son being on the staff with the Ducks. So you've got Oregon State at Oregon this week, a 35.5-point spread. I don't know if that game's ever been that big of a spread, but those of us, and I know Rob counts himself this. I know Matt's a Iowa guy. I got to understand this, though. This game is called the Civil War. Yeah. I'm just wondering where between Eugene and Pullman the Mason-Dixon line is, because that just seems like a foreign concept to me.
I never understood that, John. I never understood. I heard that's what they called their rivalry game. And then I think recently they've taken that away and they want to bring it back. But when you're a 34-point underdog, and poor Oregon State to a degree. They had it going for a while there. They were the Pac-12, and right now, it's tough times up there for sure.
Well, I told Butch Thompson, the Auburn baseball coach, before Auburn played in Corvallis a couple of years ago in the College World Series. I said, you do know between Corvallis and Eugene. They filmed around Corvallis. Corvallis is where they filmed Animal House. That was Faber College, Dean Wormer. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was filmed out there in that area. The State Nervous Hospital, that's where that was filmed because it rains a lot. It's beautiful out there. And our friend Dave Bartu lives up in the mountains outside of Oregon, College Football Matrix, and the Lights Out Gummies. But I tell you, the Civil War, that's an intent. You know what I love? I love these rivalries, and we all get to travel college football all over the country. It is electric, man. And if you're looking at these TV numbers right now, and Brendan and I had the discussion yesterday with Barry Trammell of the Tulsa World, great writer like Ken. about how do you really come up with these Nielsen numbers? Was it really 15.9 million? I think it was 15.8. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you, but guys, people are watching college football. All we need now to get the good old days back is let's reopen Sears, man. I mean,
Amen.
I miss Sears, dadgummit. I mean, you had people that have been there for 30 and 40 years that knew you by name when you went in there. Now it's just take a number. Ken, before you go, let people know the biggest story that we're not talking about out in the state of Texas.
Well, and I'm glad you called on me before we get out of here, because this, you talk about how great the rivalries are all over the country and how they make college football. One is coming to an end this weekend, and it's a travesty. And the SMU TCU game, the game for the Iron Skillet, which has been played till back in the 20s.
Wow.
Okay. This is the last game of that rivalry. They're playing it in Fort Worth at TCU on Saturday. And both teams are kind of like, well, okay, it's over. I mean, I've been so disappointed that I haven't heard one of the coaches at least give a little bit of coach speak about, well, it's a great rivalry. I hope we can reschedule it again or something like that. They're just kind of like, well, it's over. And I'm very, very disappointed to see that game go away, because a lot of incredible players have played in that game. There's been a lot of incredible games over the years, and that rivalry, as of Saturday, is gone.
Well, they move every Wednesday or Thursday at noon in downtown Fort Worth. They move the cattle down the street. I mean, that Amon G. Carter Stadium, SMU. Look, we're going to keep college football alive. Guys, awesome show. Thank you more than you know, all of y'all, for being on here with us. Howdy, folks. The Texas State Fair. Ken, you'll be coming in live from there.
Sir.
Guys, he'll be eating something fried. I can guarantee you that. But, guys, let's do it again next week. This was awesome stuff. And let me say something about our sponsors we're so blessed to have. Landers Ford, folks, Poplar and Houston Levy, where Germantown and Collierville meet. They're open every day of the week. Easy to get to, LandersFordMemphis.com again. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. They will work as hard as humanly possible to get you in a new car, truck, or SUV. And they've got a lot of pre-owned vehicles as well. Huge lot, big selection. Okay, you can go online and get the process started, and the service department will pick you up, provide round-trip transportation, take you in there and pick you up while your vehicle's being worked on. Landers Ford, Brad Bellamy, the GM, keep that in mind. And they're right down the street from our good friends at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Yeah, they've got jeans and they've got boots, but man, they've got classy clothes you can't get anywhere else in the Mid-South. All your Barber, Filson, STS, Pendleton, Schaefer, Hire boots. Those are the first cowboy boots ever made. If you got kids and grandchildren, whatever, they've got kids' boots for 2- and 3-year-old kids. They've got all kinds of good-looking women's clothing. Raven Carpenter. Ask for Raven. Ask for Lydia. Charles Hall and his wife, Laura. They're the best. J.M. Huffman. These people, they know you. They know what you want. They'll find the right fit. Boxes are coming in every day, all the fall and winter fashions. And they got a 50% off sale going on right now. And look, you got to stay in shape. How you fight is how you live. Rumble Boxing at Union and McLean in Midtown Memphis. 45-minute workouts, 48 stations with weights and punching bags. And these bags, they've got the gloves. They got all the equipment. Just show up ready to work. Rumble Boxing and Camp Lee. And remember, Lights Out Gummies, Pro Athletes Hemp Association, David Bartu, Lights Out Gummies, Sleep Gummies, 25% off. Use code SIDELINES at checkout. Remember that. Take a picture of that QR code. They've got them energy, they've got chill, and they've got the lights out for night. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us, folks. We're the most blessed people in the greatest country in the history of the world. Find excuses to be happy and win. And for executive producer Brendan Martin, stay tuned to this channel. There's a lot going on here. It's the best place to get your SEC and college coverage anywhere in America. See you tomorrow. You got Mac.